Okay, Henrietta, you are now the host, so you can add people as you would like.
Yeah, okay.
Start.
Let me see.
I think I just added someone, so.
Yeah, I don't see anyone. No one is, yeah, there.
Amy just joined.
Hi, Amy.
Oh,
The girl of the day.
yeah, and I'm traveling and in a hotel, so everything was a little bit off. So sorry, it took me a minute.
No worries at all. So I think we will just like start. Yeah, people are like popping in, but we'll start. It's recording, or we have already recorded, so people can watch afterwards as well. So today we are gonna talk to Amy. Say hi, Amy.
Hi, everybody.
Love reading your testimonial.
Yay.
So
I could fill lots more space with lots more words, but there was only so much.
When Michaela also went over like what I had written, she was like, "It's way too much." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I could have written a book, but like we're
not way too much. It was so good. I was just like, okay, we're emailing this though, so we need to make sure. I want people to read it, and if there's a lot of words, they might not even look at it. But I read through it all, and I just thought it was so cool to read about your experience and working with Henrietta, and just what strategies you guys used and how they benefited you. And so I'm excited to hear more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So jumping in because time flies. So Amy worked with me for 3 years. And the reason why, of course, working with someone for that long is not the norm. So that in itself is pretty special. But I think that a lot of you or anyone can relate to kind of Amy's story. And the fact that we haven't like seen, it was not about like, okay, we worked together for 3 years, so you could, if you have like a very focus on the scale, you could have expected like the scale to drop like enormously within 3 years. The case for many people though is that that is not happening, and it's not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily need to happen for one to feel successful. And just to like start that off, like Amy, like from when we started to now, maybe it's changed a little bit now, Amy, but like around 10 pounds is the loss. So that's not the wow experience. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna, Michaela, can you mute yourself?
Oh yeah, is that my phone? Yep, I'm muted.
Yeah. Oh, you are muted. Okay. No, so I think that's the incredible, like just a journey that we have shared, and everything that Amy has gone through. And it's such a success story, but it's not about losing a lot of pounds on the scale. Like that is not what it's been about. And I think that's something that I feel a lot of people can feel inspired by. So I wanted to start off with just like reading what Amy, because she probably don't remember this herself, what she wrote when she filled out her form starting to work with me then. So I'm going to just basically read this here. It's more about how I want my mind to feel. I want to feel confident in my skin. I want to feel confident that I'm doing what I have the capacity to ensure my body is healthy and serving me well. I've learned a lot about nutrition as a healing tool, but haven't been able to marry that with how to drop some excess weight. So that was some of what she wrote. So Amy, what do you remember, like not necessarily specifically when you wrote that, but kind of the feeling that you had when we started working together? Where were you at?
For sure. It actually makes me emotional. So everybody hold on, because I'm an emotion girl and I'm not afraid to express it. So I remembering back to that, so kind of what led to that was just a lot of family dynamics and poor health and heart issues and cancer and all the things. And so there, probably about 5 years ago, I heard something, and it was this podcast about changing diet and way of life after somebody got diagnosed with cancer. And I remember thinking, why in the absolute hell am I going to wait until I get a diagnosis to change? Like, this is absolutely crazy. So I went on like trying to find all the answers myself, and it's extremely overwhelming. And I did a lot of good things, but I knew that there was so much more that I didn't know. I wasn't raised this way. I didn't even know where to begin. So I was looking at food in that time of like the healing properties of it, but I just didn't know where to go. And there, like I said, there was so much information. And so I just really wanted to quiet the noise. Like, there was so much noise from my childhood. There was so much noise from being a young mom, like, and then all of this journey. So I was desperate for some help.
And also, like, you had, because this is also something that I think a lot of people can relate to, that you had lost a good amount of weight before when you were not working at the time when you
Yeah,
lost
so
that weight.
I put my career on hold when I had my kiddos and was a stay-at-home mom, and we didn't have a lot, to say the least. But my husband, during that time, he decided that he was gonna kind of tap into his childhood love of swimming and start doing triathlons. And so seeing him do that, and watching our kids like cheer daddy on like the last little bits on his runs home and stuff, I thought, I remember thinking, I want my kids to think that this is normal. Like, my dad, y'all, he drives a four-wheeler to get the mail at the end of the driveway. Like, exercise is not a thing in my culture. But I just remember thinking, like, I want them to think that this is normal and that this is just something you do. And then if you want to level up and do a triathlon, you train a little bit harder. So during that time, I had never run a mile. I didn't know how to swim. I mean, I knew how to like stay afloat and not die, but we bought bikes. We bought like cheap bikes. And the first thing that we did is my husband dropped me off a mile from home. I knew if I started out on my own journey that I would probably talk myself out of it and turn around. So he dropped me off, and I ran my first mile ever in my whole life as like a 29-year-old woman. And then I just went a little bit farther, and it kind of snowballed from there. Mind you, I was still partaking in some really bad habits back then. I was still smoking, and diet and all the other things were totally not amazing. But that was kind of the start of like this. I just wanted something different for myself, and I wanted something different for my kids, was the big motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you lost a lot of weight, but
I
then
lost a ton of weight because I wasn't trying to, because the why was a healthy why.
yeah.
And, I grew up in a yo-yo dieting family, and like a million insane things of the 80s and 90s, right? And Midwestern diets, and tried so hard because I was trying to do this thing for everyone else that everyone else thought. And this was the first time that it wasn't about the weight loss. It was just, I wanted to be healthy and I wanted to do these things with my kids. So I did quit smoking not too long after that, but
And then you gained some weight.
which then I put on the weight that I lost, I will say. So, I had lost quite a bit of weight, and then I went back to work,
Yeah.
and it was hard.
What do you do? Tell us a
What's
little bit
that?
tell us a little bit about what you do. Like,
So I have a real estate business. I'm a realtor. And so I started as kind of was going to be small and a secondary income, and it's become much, much larger than that. So I've been very blessed by that, but that comes with a lot of time and energy and stress that has poured into that. So I did quit smoking, which then I did kind of as I stopped working out and increased stress, and then I quit smoking, that I basically put back on anything that I had lost slowly. But then that, the old language and lots of bad mental habits kind of kicked in then too. So yeah.
So then it was more. So when we got together, it was basically about, you couldn't really go back to what you had experienced because it was a totally different life when you were like, you were staying at home, you were small, like there was a lot of things that was different. So now it was about like finding a way that worked for you while you also like had two basically teenagers, almost teenagers at
Well,
least at that.
they were kind of in that middle, like 8 and 10
Yeah.
then. Yeah.
Yeah. They are
Or 10.
teenagers. Yeah.
Anyway.
And yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
We've been
And
working together so long, Henriette.
yeah,
They've aged a lot along the way.
They were toddlers. And then yeah, and then so busy like with your work, and your work means a lot to you and you put in a lot
Yeah.
of effort.
Yeah.
And something that I also want to mention is that I also think a lot of people can relate to is that you really, that's something we have talked about a lot, is like how you kind of from childhood or from early age, like always have really wanted to be what everyone else needs, and like be the one that supports people, be the one that makes the room laugh, be the one that like whatever is
Enneagram
needed,
too.
yeah, you're there. And that was something that's, you know, that's an amazing quality, but some we've found that that was like also a hinder for your own progress at times. So we talked a lot about that. So tell us a little bit about that journey of like going through that, because that's,
I think that's the hardest one.
yeah,
I
really
mean,
proud of you.
I think there's so many lessons that we learned along the way, but I think the hardest one was changing that kind of early programming that I had, that my worth was what other people defined it to be and how helpful I was in their world. And just kind of codependent relationships with more than just food. I mean, that was really the light bulbs that I had when I through the journey, was when I realized like codependency with food, with alcohol, and then just with relationships sometimes too. That if I give what I, and then I expect something in return. So I mean, once we started healing some of those, it really did snowball and I could feel it a lot, but it took a long time and a lot of talking and a lot of working through those hard things. It was like hard wiring, right? Like, and it just took so much vulnerability and honesty and Henriette kicking my butt and poking me a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but
Oh, but I feel, and that of course is something that is like, you're never done. It's not like, oh, now you
ever.
always keep the boundaries, but it's
No.
definitely something like, I'm just gonna to say it specifically, it hindered, like you were choosing, because that's your line of work as well, like being social, like being with people all the time. And so it was more a lot about just choosing the time with yourself so that you could have the downtime that you needed, and that you could actually choose to go out, working out, going for a hike, doing something that is for you.
Prioritizing it. I think
Yeah,
prioritizing is the
yeah,
thing that I've really learned, that I have to put my non-negotiables. Like really that is the mindset that I've had to create, is like, what is non-negotiable, and really, really stick to those. And that took practice, which
yeah,
included some failing
yeah.
a couple
And
of
also
times.
like self-awareness, and like knowing that,
Mhm.
and also understanding kind of what, because it's not like you didn't enjoy those things, but you understood that, okay, it's just taking over, it's taking too
Mhm.
much. I don't have room for everything. It's kind of
Mhm.
like,
I think too, like really recognizing the why, like
yeah,
understanding that is a big part of who I am, is understanding why I'm doing something. And even like, for example, last week, I had signed up for a free yoga class at a local clothing store, right? And by God, but then it was nice out and I really wanted to get an outdoor hike in. And I struggled with canceling that. I committed to that. And that is something that I have just had to exercise over and over again is prioritizing. No, I need to get some steps in. I need some outside time. I can't do it all because me 3 years ago would have figured out a way to get it all in. And if that meant getting up at 4:30 in the morning and going to bed at midnight that night, I would have done it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that works sometimes, but not as a norm. Right?
Yeah.
So I thought I would just mention like a little like about the numbers, just so you all can get kind of a picture of where we started off.
data. The data, she always tells me, it's just data.
We love the data. Okay, so when Amy started working with me, she was eating, if I'm a little wide spectrum, between 1100 and 1500 calories, closer to the 1100 than the 1500 most days. And a lot of those days, some of that was alcohol, right? Like not all days, but yeah. So it was like protein levels were at like 40 to 60 grams. Like that's where we started off. So that was a huge job just in the beginning of reversing calories, just making sure that Amy is fueling herself because Amy knew a lot about nutrition, but she was also afraid of, she had a lot of digestive issues, something that you've had for your whole life almost,
My
or
entire life, pretty much. Yeah.
so she was also kind of, there was fear, like, a lot of foods and not like, don't want to eat that, don't want to eat that because that upsets my stomachs and so and so. It's totally understandable. So we slowly started getting more calories in, focusing on getting more protein in. And we worked our way actually up all the way to 2,200 calories. So Amy is one that is very goal oriented. So she was like, just tell me what to eat and I will get there. I will eat that. I'm like, okay, but we're not doing it too fast, but okay, we'll get there. So we got to 2,200 calories, up towards to 110 grams of protein. So like that's a huge bump up in both calories and in protein. So that was awesome, but we still wanted to get the protein even higher. And you were actually feeling pretty uncomfortable eating that much because that was, I don't know if you had done that consistently.
Never.
No,
No.
exactly. So you were
And trying to reduce and reducing alcohol. Like that
Yeah.
was like that was in the transition of really trying to pull out alcohol. So it was a lot of food. Like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or just more protein as well that fills you up. So it's like that was, you struggled a little bit there. So we lowered calories again to somewhere where you were more comfortable. So around 1,700, and then you were able, so we lowered calories, but then you were able to keep your protein above 100 consistently. So that's also a huge win from the start. We worked our way up again, increasing calories again. So we yo-yoed a lot back and forth. And through this yo-yoing, we were able to increase protein, in every step. So basically, we ended up at somewhere you're eating a little bit lower now as well, around 1,600 or so, but are able to get in up towards 130 grams, like with no problem. So like that's just as a coach and like from my experience, like that's just a huge accomplishment to be able to go from where you were and now eat without problems, getting in the protein, getting in like just getting in the nutrients basically that your body needs. So that is just something that I wanted to share also with other clients that are kind of working with the numbers themselves, that sometimes that takes 2 years, or it like takes 3 years or 1 year, like, but it takes a long time because it's a process where it's not just a straight line. You work your way up and then you go back and then you work your way and then you build basically.
that's really what was so helpful, I think,
Yeah.
because everything I had ever tried, it was like, I mean, you read this article or you hear about something somebody's doing and you just go all in, and it's like it's too overwhelming, to go from
Yeah.
eating what did you say, 30 to 130.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would have felt terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. And you
Been
can't
like,
do that overnight. Like it has
yeah,
to, your body needs to
yeah.
adjust, right? So,
And then I would give up. And then I would have, the mental game of like, oh gosh, you're such a failure and all that bullshit that we tell
and
ourselves. So the
And we've also
slowness
had, yeah,
was so good.
periods through these 3 years where you haven't tracked, where you have been more intuitive, and we've just been like talking through food every week, but not necessarily you tracking. So we've been there as well, for a good amount of time also. And I think when you're working with the coach for 3 years, that's most likely going to happen because tracking for 3 years straight, like let's just say it, I would never do that. But we're all different. But yeah, that can be rough.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we checked blood work because it turned out testosterone was like just tanked, thyroid hormones, like a lot of things that were kind of holding you back. So, and that was what we experienced through the journey, that your body wasn't really responding to the deficits that we took you in after increasing calories.
Mhm.
So we brought in David, got you on some supplements, some DHEA, some 7-keto, like just to optimize your sex hormones basically. And that worked like that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we got them functioning. So that's great. And that's not always, what happens either, especially like when you can be premenopausal, like in your 40s, as we are. So
Yeah,
so that
early on, he wasn't quite sure that it would cut that I would
was,
naturally produce hormones. Like that was kind of scary back then of
yeah,
it was so low that wondering either this will help my body like start to produce it on its own or have to have testosterone replacement therapy. And I was like, what? But
yeah,
I got lucky.
yeah. That was I remember like that was some rough conversations we had there where you were just disappointed in like how, like, what is this, what it's come to, like, so
Mhm.
like working through that as well, but then thankfully like it just kicked off. And I think like one of the biggest things is also what you have found now in your yoga, because that is also something that was a struggle through all of the 3 years to like just be consistent with a lot of movement. That was hard, like with everything that you are dealing with, and not really feeling like strength training, that's not something you enjoy. And we wanted to find something where you like, of course, because with all training, what you're gonna do is what you actually what you enjoy.
Mhm.
So just like from moving very little to now doing yoga several days a week, you're focusing on getting a outside walk, getting it in most days at least, right?
Yeah.
Hiking without and feeling strong hiking, that was also
Mhm.
one of the goals. So can you tell me just a little bit, or tell us about like just how that movement journey has been for you?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, it was hard because the only time that I ever made exercise a routine, I was running. I was running and I was biking and I was swimming, and it was like intense. But I also could choose the time of day that I went, and it was super flexible. So if it was crappy in the morning and the weather was bad, I would wait and do it in the afternoon. And so that was the hardest part of like prioritizing exercise. And I tried the strength training and it just
Yeah.
wasn't my jam. Um, and like, I don't know, I love being outside. So that is my ideal, is to do anything outside. Biking is probably my favorite thing, but biking takes a lot of planning, especially where I live. I live kind of 20 to 30 minutes outside of a major city. So getting your rack on and loading it up and getting to a trail and all the things, right? So I couldn't find something that I could be consistent. And Henriette's always like, consistency, everything is consistency. And that was always my struggle. Like I have called myself, also realized that my tendency is to binge. Like to not have any self-care, to not have any exercise, and then just like go on a 3-day backpacking trip in the mountains carrying 35 pounds on my back and think that I'm going to be fine. And that doesn't work when you're 42. So, but anyway, trying to be consistent was the biggest thing. And honestly, I think two things happened kind of around the same time. A yoga studio opened in my very small town. So it made it accessible. I mean, it's only 10 minutes to get there instead of 30 to 35. And I love yoga. So it has been such a godsend for me. And kind of realizing I put all this pressure that exercise had to be like so intense. And when we just got to where just walk, just walk. And I released all this crap that I had in my head that wasn't good enough. And when I just accepted that to be what it was, those two things together have been amazing. And now when I go for a bike ride and I want to turn it up a notch and ride hard for, 20 or 30 miles, I can, because my baseline, I just have like a level. So that's been probably the biggest thing, is consistently doing yoga and walking, just walking.
And I think like, because it's been going on for, quite some time now, but I do believe that just because you have started off that for like, what can we say, like 6 months ago, maybe a little more?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Around there. So I think like you're going to continue to see a lot of benefits physically from that moving forward, if you, as I know you will, keep up the consistency with that. So that's going to be super exciting to just follow, further down the line as well.
Yeah.
So I want to like, because this is kind of huge, I think, just the fact that you, for the first time in your life, wore a two-piece bikini on a vacation.
Yeah, I'm going on a sailing trip and I bought 2 more, Henriette.
So for me,
My
that is just
my best friend is gonna be mind blown. I haven't told her. She's gonna die. Because
I think that's
I
huge.
was like moo old lady, like high neck in a skirt, one piece. I was that chick in a swimsuit. I just was not. And yeah, so I bought a 2-piece for our last family vacation, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, and you put that on and you felt like good. You like, I get, yeah. And that was not,
And
and
part of it started very practically with all of the like sunlight exposure stuff with David and following that, and which is a whole nother layer because I have melanoma in my family. And so that was a whole nother complex of things to work through. But what I know from personal experience with that, and then just what I know about the sun and my own personal beliefs, everything he says, I'm like, this makes sense. I love it. So, even just like trying to get more skin in the sun, and then I think just seeing and feeling myself of that, and again the why behind it, that this is good for other reasons, and it released this expectation that I had to have a rockin' hot bod and a 2-piece in order to wear a 2-piece. And again, it's the dumb stories that I've told myself from the age of 4, honestly. Like literally 4 years old are the first memories I have of body shaming in my life. So it like took some serious undoing. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm so proud of that. Like, that's just, I think that's huge. And I think it's so, and our time is almost up. So is there any, like, how do you feel about like moving forward, like what you have gained and where you're at, right now?
I mean,
Like, can
I
you
think
sum it up?
the biggest thing for me is the grace I've learned for myself. Like honestly, the it's just data. It's just data. Like don't worry about it, Amy, and her making me do different things and face different numbers consistently over time has been so huge because I've had so many, and I'm so glad that I stuck it out because I remember that first year I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember having that come to Jesus meeting with myself of like, there is something here. There is something here and it's hard, but just knowing that on the other side of it, it was going to be better and just having that like deep faith that God put this woman in my life for a reason. And it was unraveling me early on, but I stuck it out and man. So now it's like I think, I just went through pretty stressful last couple of months just with life, like as we all do. Like, married for 18 years, we got stuff. I got 2 teenage kids and I got a business and all the things. And so there was some stressful times and just knowing and like having that track record to say, okay, I can only handle so much stress. So what's going to give? Sleep is a priority, water's a priority, movements, like what are the ones that are going to be my non-negotiables? Which ones can I let go of and give myself grace and know, okay, we just want consistent scale right now. And that's, I have a trip coming up and I kind of wanted to maybe lose a couple more pounds, but then all this stuff is happening and I'm like, no, you know what? It's totally fine and I can just remain consistent and that will come someday. I don't have to. So that is like so powerful. And knowing like every single day I wake up and it's instinctive of what I know I need to fuel my body to make sure my digestion is going to work. That's my huge thing is I got poop every day. Because when you go years and years and years of not pooping every day and millions of specialists telling you like they literally gave me a refill prescription of a colonoscopy prep kit. That was their answer because they had no idea what to do with me. I literally would go 2 weeks without pooping. So as long as I'm pooping every day, I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. I know everything's working. So
And maybe tell us, what do you do? Like if you are a little, if it's been a little rough, what do you do to get it going?
Is that what you're referring to?
What do you do? You go to
Because obviously, like with anything, and especially for me, everything is emotional, mental, and physical. Like it's not just one thing, but understanding the physical part of it has been wildly helpful. And I know the macro stuff, that's really what gets me. And I know if my macro distribution gets off, that is 100% going to affect my digestion. And I can tell within a day. But now I have the tools and the consistency over 3 years of how to go back to it and like what I can do to adjust so that I don't have to go, oh crap, here's the beginning of the end. Here we go. And that's not the mental story that I have for myself of like, you know what? It was a rough couple of days. We're going to get back on track and get back to it. So that's been really helpful too. Like, and I think that came with taking the breaks in the interim of that. We had several times where I was like, I can't do this. I just need a break. And I think those were also helpful so that I knew how to come back. Like,
yeah,
that was really important for me.
the breaks with the tracking and the focus of it. Do you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
going on vacation and saying,
Yeah.
get your water in, try to get your protein, whatever, and
Which is
having those,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
because you
because
have zero stress on vacation, so you can handle a little more.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, because that's been one of the huge things. Like you just basically that's what you're saying, like going from not pooping and now you've been pooping for the last at least 2.5 years. Like
It's
daily, more or
amazing.
less. So
We talk a lot about poop.
yeah. Yeah. Everything. No,
And my hormone cycle is consistent. Like that's another one that feels so amazing and the power and the knowledge that I learned. Um, my daughter's 14. So as she kind of goes into this phase of what it's like to become a woman, both like hormonally, but then just in the world, and I feel super proud that she gets to look at a mom that did all of this. So it's been pretty great.
yeah.
I
Truly.
think I changed the cycle. That was my goal, is like to not continue the family cycle of the battles that the women before me have had. And I knew if I didn't change, it wouldn't change. And I knew it needed to be drastic. And I literally had a lifetime of shit to unpack and to heal. And I knew it wouldn't happen overnight. I mean, I didn't get myself where I was overnight, and I knew it would take some time, and I think it will continue. Like, it's not going to go away. That's the other thing I know. It's like any therapy or coaching or anything that you do, like, you're never done. You just hope to reduce. I just hope to always continue to reducing the noise. Yeah.
Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna go and cry.
Yeah. That's what I do all the time.
Yeah. No, it's been amazing. I hope that this talk has been inspirational for many. I truly think it has. So,
And I'm an open book. If anybody has any questions, like, I'll tell you all the deets.
yeah, for sure. So does anyone have a quick question now, or if anyone has questions or like just thoughts, you can always write it in the app.
Yes,
And
that's a great idea. If
yeah.
you guys have any questions, write them in the app. And then Amy
Uh,
could respond. You could tag Amy, or Henrietta could respond.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and your
Yeah,
coaching
thanks,
experience.
ladies. It's been pretty
It's been really
amazing.
cool to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
just-
And
just
it's
like the collaborative effort from both of you on you communicating enough so Henrietta can help provide strategies, and then being willing to trust the process and being patient with your expectations, and just like it's just so cool, because I think oftentimes, a lot of women come in wanting to lose weight, and I think that's a valid thing. And you did do that, but like, if you only looked at that, like, your wins are just so immense. To only look at that would just be doing you such a discredit on truly like changing patterns and behaviors, and and benefiting, from hormones to digestion to energy to confidence to really just how your relationship with food, just such a big transformation through all of that. It's really cool to hear about. Way more
Huge.
exciting than just talking about weight loss. So it's really cool to hear.
sure.
Thank you both for sharing. And as always, if anyone has questions about one-on-one coaching, feel free to ask. And I think Henrietta might have a couple spots open. So I know we have a few coaches with some openings.
You won't regret it.
Yes. Thank you. Good luck with the rest of your travel.
Yeah.
And thanks everyone for joining. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Amy.
Yeah,
Bye.
of course.